Good morning, Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I'm bringing a video to you on a subject that's interesting to me. It might be of interest to you or someone you know. I don't want to talk about lying. The old question of honesty and being accurate with the intention of being understood and communicating the relevant stuff that you obviously know somebody needs to be aware of in the event of business or communication in general. So I want to talk about this because there is a lingering misconception about honesty, what it means, what it looks like, when it is justifiable to be dishonest, and it turns out it is sometimes justifiable. And I want to talk about all that stuff, especially the part where honesty doesn't necessarily have to occur. Such as right off the bat, you're going to be thinking, what do you mean by that? Okay, consider that children, especially females in particular, and anyone in general, may find themselves in a situation where they need to act in their own self-defense. Okay, unfortunately, sometimes people are in a situation where they're being assailed or assaulted by somebody or kidnapped or whatever, and they have to defend themselves. They have an obligation as a self-respecting, living being to try to escape, to try to protect themselves, and to use whatever means are necessary to protect their survival or their children's survival or whatever, at which point all bets are off, at which point all is fair. Okay, and if you're being categorically assaulted or threatened or raped or whatever, you have an obligation to use everything at your disposal to defend yourself, up to and including being dishonest. Here's the thing. My point is that this is not justification for people to be recklessly dishonest or casually or frivolously dishonest for selfish purposes. There's a difference here. And the actual point of this video is to help people disambiguate what constitutes justifiable dishonesty and differentiates it from the other kind, the kind that pretty much everybody assumes is all dishonesty, but it's not. And that is the differentiation, the criteria to differentiate is your intentions. I keep mentioning this. We don't want to hear about intentions. I get it. No, I understand. You can't prove them. Somebody can lie about your intentions. Or what I'm saying is, if something's going on. Many times you do. Sometimes it's not clear. Sometimes it is clear. But regardless of whether it's easy to measure or prove, intentions, in fact, define the nature of every behavior. What were they trying to do? It tells you what to do about the problem that ensues, if there is a problem. You only have two questions as an administrator when you're dealing with a problem. First of all, was it substantial? Was there an actual problem? Did something even happen? Did it almost happen? Was there a rumor? Or did something actually happen? Was something broken? Was somebody, violated or trespassed upon? Was there property damaged, or was there body or person damaged in some way? Because those are your questions. After which you can ask the follow-up question, was it intentional? Was it intentional? And that tells you what to do about it. Did somebody try to do something malicious? If they knew it was wrong and they did it anyway, that tells you something very important. It tells you that education and information were not the problem. That is not the solution, therefore. You cannot just re-educate somebody if they already knew. Come on, it's just logic. However, if they didn't know, and this is the honest case many times, especially when people are growing up and learning, we all make mistakes. If it was an honest case of misunderstanding or an accident, or they honestly just didn't think it through completely, there's such a thing as recklessness. But ignorance is an excuse. It's a very good excuse. So in order for ignorance to be an excuse, you have to accept that circumstances matter, first of all. And you have to acknowledge that intentions define the nature of the behavior, even when it's difficult to prove. The snapshot in the middle, as an aside, doesn't really mean much. What happened specifically makes no difference. All that matters is what came out of it. Was there damage? And what did they mean to do? Those are the questions. They're very hard to answer, but those are the only ones that really matter. So, honesty again, in summary. It's great to be honest. It's great to be upfront, especially in agreements, especially, as a default, a rule of thumb, so to speak. But there are absolutely cases where if somebody's asking you questions that are inappropriate, that they do not have a license to ask you, if somebody's, digging into your personal information, if they're threatening you in some way, if you don't feel safe, I have your back if you tell a lie in that case, but it's got to be justified. That makes sense to me. That kind of stuff makes sense. Someone's asking you, where you're going, what you're doing, and that person has previously or is in an ongoing way hurting you somehow. You don't owe that person shit. Pardon me. You don't owe them the truth. You don't owe them anything. Even if it's a parent. Especially if it's a parent. So, be honest when it makes sense. And trust me, every time you are honest, even if it's difficult, especially if it's difficult, it will pay off. But don't let it cost you your life. Don't let it cost you the lives of your loved ones. That's just stupid. Reach out if you like with questions or comments to whitehotrobot@gmail.com. Thank you.